Across though, we have some more news coming in. All right, cutting across to live visuals coming in from Bhopal, where the Congress vehemently protesting against price rise. High drama at Bhopal that we see as the Congress stages a massive protest. We're looking at water cannons being used to disperse those protesters who have gathered in large numbers. Water cannons there being used to chase them away as large numbers of the Congress workers who have gathered protesting against price rise in Bhopal. These are visuals coming in. Congress protesting in Bhopal extensively against the price rise. Water cannons being used against those Congress protesters. Live visuals coming in right from the state. These are live visuals coming in of Bhopal, where large protests carried out by the Congress party against price rise. We're looking at visuals of water cannons being used to chase those protesters away. Right, these visuals coming at live from Madhya Pradesh's Bhopal, where Congress workers in large numbers who have landed up. They've been, in fact, barricades have been placed only to block them off. But many of those workers holding the Congress flag, protesting against the price rise in the state. We're looking at much criticism against several state governments across the country, along with the centre, owing to the price rise in the country. This is a protest which the Congress has launched in Bhopal, a huge protest, big enough for the police now to use water cannons to chase them off. We have Hemendra Sharma joining us live for more on that. Hemendra, we're looking at Congress workers who've been blocked off by those barricades, water cannons being used to chase them away as the protest grows over price rise in Madhya Pradesh.
Well, yes, the Youth Congress has today, in fact, they had announced a protest that had said that they would be marching towards the Chief Minister's house, and the Indian Youth Congress president is here amongst the protesters. The local Youth Congress leadership is here along with other hundreds of Youth Congress workers. They started their march towards the Chief Minister's house, but there were barricades put at some distance, about 500 to 600 meters away from the Congress office on the link road in Bhopal, and now police is trying to just push them back. Water cannons are being used, but Youth Congress workers are still trying to force their way towards the Chief Minister's house, and till now the police have restrained itself from using any kind of force except for water cannons that are being used.
Are they protesting? Hemendra, give us a sense of where these protests are taking place. Has the government responded? What's been the reaction so far by the legislators?
Well, the government, the Youth Congress had in fact announced and about this protest. They had said that they would be protesting against price rise and cases of corruption in Madhya Pradesh. And for that, they had said that they would be galvanizing their supporters from across the state. In fact, the Youth Congress they had in fact galvanized their supporters from across the state. The entire Congress leadership, the top leadership of the Congress, they were also participating in this rally that was held before this protest march. This protest is being held in the heart of the city. The Link Road is the place where the Congress office is situated in Bhopal. From Link Road, they had planned to march towards the Chief Minister's house on Shamla Hills, which is about 2.5–3 kilometers from this place, but at a distance about 600 meters from the Congress office. Barricades have been put up by the Congress, by the police, and the Youth Congress workers have been stopped.
Well, Hemendra, while the Congress protests against price rise and corruption, what's the reality? Do you see extensive rise in prices in the state of Madhya Pradesh? We know that's a perennial problem across the country at this point. But in Madhya Pradesh itself, how bad is the situation when it comes to prices of basic essentials?
Well, as far as petroleum products, fuel prices are concerned, Madhya Pradesh stands at the top. In fact, prices of petrol and diesel, despite the fact that the government of Madhya Pradesh reduced the VAT on the request from the union government, despite that, the prices of petrol and diesel are amongst the highest across the country in Madhya Pradesh. That's because before the cut was introduced by the government of Madhya Pradesh, the VAT that was charged by the government was the maximum across the country. So definitely when there is the prices of petrol and diesel are the highest, other essential commodities, it has an impact on that as well. So certainly the prices of most essential commodities are the highest anywhere across the country in Madhya Pradesh. And as far as corruption is concerned, the other issue for which the youth Congress workers are protesting, there have been issues of corruption, though there is no big one case that you can say, but every other day there have been raids and searches by the EOW and the Lokayuta, and people have been nabbed, people have been caught with huge amount of cash in their possession, disproportionate to their known sources of income. So the allegation by the Congress party and the Youth Congress is that the big fish are being let off while small fish, small grade 2 and 3 employees, they are being caught.
Right, you know, we were looking at the Youth Congress protesters there extensively protesting, trying to get out the Chief Minister's residence. What's been the police deployment like? Heminder, the visuals that we see here, of course, large-scale protests. It seems like the Congress had decided to launch this, this massive protest outside the Chief Minister's home. Was the government taken unaware? Were they aware of a protest like this? Did they have permission? Are those protesters going to be detained? What's the police deployment like?
Well, the government did have had some idea about the protest. In fact, the Youth Congress had announced in advance. It is planned protest, planned demonstration. They had said that they would be marching towards the Chief Minister's house. So the government and the police have set up barricades midway at about 600 meters from the Congress office. The Youth Congress workers have been stopped. There is heavy police deployment. Police, for the moment, is restraining itself from taking any kind of action in the sense that no force has been used till now. Announcements have been made and the Youth Congress workers are being asked to go back. But water cannons have been used. It's just water cannons that have been used till now. So the Youth Congress workers, as you can see, they are being repelled by a water cannon for now. It's very hot, around 43 degree temperature. So there's some kind of relief also to the Youth Congress workers from the water. But they are being pushed back, and the police is announcing that please go back and you are not allowed beyond this particular point. And at that one stage, some arrest, some detention would certainly be made. The Youth Congress workers at this stage, they also are very determined not to go back.
What's the situation right now? We're looking at water cannons being used by the police. Many of them have been detained already. Yes. All right, stay with us, Heminder. We have reactions on this. Many of them have been detained.
युवा साथियों के साथ यहाँ लाठीचार्ज किया गया, मारपीट की गई, वाटर कैनन यूज किया गया है। ये मध्य प्रदेश की युवाओं की आवाज दबाना चाहती है सरकार। इसको लेकर आज हमारे युवा साथियों ने संकनाद किया है। मध्य प्रदेश में 23 में सरकार बनाएंगे और सरकार युवा की मदद करने वाली सरकार बनाएंगे। ये सरकार पूर्णतः गुंडागर्दी दादागिरी कर रही है। कांग्रेस पार्टी
मध्य प्रदेश के अंदर युवाओं के रोजगार को बेचने वाले, व्यापम करने वाले, आदिवासियों पे अत्याचार, किसान के फसलों के दाम नहीं देने वाले जो किसान विरोधी, नौजवान विरोधी सरकार है, इसके खिलाफ संकनाद किया है। पूरा स्पष्ट है, या तो इस प्रदेश के नौजवानों को रोजगार दो, किसान को फसलों के दाम दो, नहीं तो कि ये खरीदे हुए जनादेश की सरकार के गद्दी छोड़ो। इसके खिलाफ युवाओं का संकनाद है। और जिस बर्बरता के साथ ये व्यवहार करते हैं, हम कोई आतंकवादी नहीं, नौजवानों की आवाज है। ये लाठी आंसू गैस के गोलों से डरने वाले नहीं, ये राहुल गांधी की सेना है।
All right, there we saw several Congress leaders who've been, the Youth Congress men who've been detained right now, right outside the Chief Minister's residence as they vehemently protest against price rise in Bhopal. I'm going to take you through those visuals right after.